Good morning. Thank you very much for having me here tonight. This morning. So most of us, most of you probably know me from localization, right? But I have an equally colorful background in defensive tactics. That's me, right? So this is here at the FBI Academy, and here is where these are the guys from the hostage rescue teams and some other special forces. And my specialty is actually pulling people out of the car, right? Put on the handcuffs, stuff them back to the Suburban, and that's what I used to teach, right? And you will see the relevance of that a little bit later. So I supported the program, the behavior science unit at the FBI called GhostRat, Global Hostage Taking Research and Analysis Program. And in 2011, September 2011, we wanted to use a conference to free 2 hostages that we had, or prisoners in Iran. And we said, if you know anything about the intelligence community, then you'll see that they all have their personal recovery units, but for citizens, there's nothing like that. So when that happens, all the heads of the personal recovery units will come together and plan, right? So I was invited to that conference, and I drove up to Richmond, Virginia, and by the time I arrived there, the two prisoners were already free, right? So I missed it. So I'm not sure what happened, but I missed it. And so we said, you know what, we're going to do, now that we're all here, let's have the actual conference. And so what GhostRat does is they interview, they want to get into the heads of hostage takers, right? They want to know why are people doing it, how do they respond, how do they act, so that from there we can derive defensive tactics, for example. We know that when in the Middle East, when they put you in that orange jumpsuit, you have a maximum of 4, an average of 2 days to live. They are going to kill you. There's no negotiation out of that. We have hostage takers in Colombia that take you as a hostage, but they for weeks, months, even years, but they treat you well. So the tactics are different. The first one is the strategy has to be escape. The second one, it has to be let's take some time and get as much intelligence out of them as we can. And before we started GhostRat, there was no research done whatsoever. So I was sitting there and then let's have our actual conference, right? And what we've done is we went into prisons and interviewed hostage takers. And that typically happens in other languages, right? They're either Spanish speaking or Arabic speaking or Farsi speaking, but not English speaking. So we had the interviews with an interpreter. The analysis of those interviews, so I had to be in English. So they were struggling with how do we take those recordings, have this text to speech to text conversion, and then text from Arabic or Spanish or Farsi to English. And they figured this all out, and it was very weird with drag and dictate and so on. And I was sitting there, and I was like, wait a minute. I'm one of the leading experts worldwide on this topic, right? So why did they not ask me? I went over here to Dr. Greg Vecchi, who was the chief of the behavioral health science unit at the time. I said, Greg, you know me very well, and you vetted me, right? You sponsored my top secret clearance. Why did you not ask me about this? And they said basically, which opened my eyes and changed my perspective on localization, is that you're just a translator. Right? We didn't think that you had any knowledge of technology. And I totally changed my perspective. But then I thought, wait a minute, let me check that, So I looked back, right? I remembered at that moment, at that very moment, I remembered a memo that I got at the World Bank when I started as manager for their translation interpretation department at the World Bank. I remembered a memo that I've seen. That was the true meaning of CC. Do you know what CC means? When I'm CCing someone? Carbon copy, right? was on carbon copy, very well with a typewriter, very well aligned, you know, like it was very well written, probably typed up 10 times or so, right? 4-page letter. And it talked about a specific technology, and it said, why this technology is great, it's only suitable for some kind of documents, and only translators with the highest mastery of their profession can use it, and it's very difficult and will take some time, blah, blah, 4-page memo, handwritten, machine typewriter, probably dictated to a secretary at the time. You know what they were talking about? What do you guess? That was in 1960. The dictaphone. Right? So you could have taken that entire memo and replaced dictaphone with Trados or whatever, or memsource, or whatever memsource in the house. Right? And that would have been totally valid, a valid memo, right? So then, what happened in 1970? When computers were introduced, right? Now, you were not dictating to a machine anymore, you were dictating to a secretary, right? They were called secretaries at the time. In the 1980s, Microsoft and IBM introduced the personal computer, which now forced the translator to use a typewriter. So we took away the assistant, right? We went from I'm dictating on tape to giving it to my assistant and typing it up, to I'm dictating right to my assistant, to now I need to do it myself. Then we went to 1990, IBM introduced translation memories, because they wanted to reuse, they save money in reuse content, right? And in 2000 we introduced machine translation. We introduced machine translation earlier, but in 2000 it started to take steam, in most part because of the iPhone or the smartphones. Because now you could go around and say, here, no, I don't speak Chinese, I just want to know the way to the next restaurant, and I can hold the phone out and I get an answer, right? And maybe not good enough, maybe for publishing, but good enough for me to help me, as a tourist, to help me get around. And now we're in a time where we have had all these new technologies that change the way we work, crowdsourcing, collaboration tools, and so on, that dramatically changes the industry. Do you know what all of these have in common? What do you think they all have in common?
Technology.
They were all fought and hated and rejected by translators. They hated it, right? I call the 60 year of translator resistance. And it's continuing, right? But what happened is, in 1960, we had a translator productivity of about 300 words per day. Today, we're bringing it up to 30,000 words per day. And I didn't make that up. Right? It's Marianne Greenfield, who was in 2009, I think, actually posted that she was able to translate a new document without existing pre-memory, 30,000 words per day. She was at the time the president of the American Translator Association. So I'm not smoking this up, right?
Did she sleep?
But, huh?
Did she sleep?
I don't know, but their productivity is going to increase. But here's like you see the acceleration of pace of change, right? So you see here we are here, and it's like going faster and faster and faster and faster. So to a point where in 20 years from now that the computer power surpasses brain power of humans in 2023. That is not too far away. 6 years away. 6 years away. 6 years. Okay, and that corresponds with, if you look at that, these are the number of patents that we've seen from 1980 to 2012. It's an acceleration of new inventions that we see worldwide. The interesting part of here is that when you look at the US, it's the purple here, they're not much more, it's stagnant. For the last 10 years or so, there are not significant new increases in new inventions coming out of the US. Instead, it's coming all from China. Right? So it's dramatic what's happening here. So then you see, when you overlay that, I overlaid it here, say, here, this is the same time period. It's the same curve. It's the same curve. Right? And what that means for linguists is, I'll show you this here. We do, my company or my team, we go into client and organizations that buy translation services. And what we see is that we interview and evaluate and assess in-country reviewers within the companies, right? And we ask them, what kind of mistakes do you find? And what we see is most of them have to do with wrong terms, not understanding the content, right? And everything else that we're measuring as translators is not a big issue for them. In fact, we go in there, we take a document the way it comes from the translator, unreviewed, and then have it reviewed, and then we have a review document, like quote-unquote approved document, and then we show those documents to end clients, and we ask them, so which of those documents reads better? And it's 50-50, right? So it's like about half of people say the way it comes from the translator is better, another half says the way it comes off the review is better. And I'm saying 50-50, so you can take a coin, right, and flip it, and then make a guess whether or not you want to edit the document, right? And what we're seeing here is a fundamental challenge that with all of these new inventions that are coming, with translators understanding this, the topic that they're translating on. And it's not surprising because we are inventing at such an accelerating rate that, it's like even the subject matter experts within those companies that invent this stuff don't know anymore what that means in Chinese or what a specific technology or process should be called in Russian. How, as a translator, can you do that? You can't, right? And we see that when you can go, like we have a few company representatives here. The subject matter expert review is the biggest problem to today. It's the only thing that cannot be automated yet, and it's the biggest pain that the localization of translation buyers have. So we are obsessed with, let's measure, spelling J2450. Alan Davis in the room, and he and I, like 20 years ago, worked on 2450, some of the initiatives. It's not an issue anymore. We have technology in place that like expansion, all of that helps us with that, memories and so on. Where we struggle is understanding the content. No translation school in the world can teach that. And they cannot teach you on the cutting edge technologies in biotech, right? That's not their job. Their job is to teach you how to do your job well as a translator, interpreter, and so on. But it's a problem, right? So that needs to be solved. And for that reason, we need to establish localization as a core competence rather than a standalone program. It's a core competence in universities where we go out and we teach the people whose help we need on how to deal with documents, what it means to develop a piece of software for an international market, right? How to design a car so that I can internationalize it and bring it to international markets very fast. These things we need to do. Because we can't do it alone anymore, right? So, and if we do that, the moment we start doing it, we will become stronger and more relevant. The question that I have is, why is that so difficult? Why is there 60 years of translator resistance? Right? And I have an answer for that. Not in psychology, but in biology. So not in psychology, but biology. So here's a cross-section of the brain. And what we have the neocortex. That's where your cognitive thinking is. When you do your IQ tests, that's what it tests. That's where your analytical reasoning is. It's also where language sits. Right? So then we have the limbic system. That's your affective, so how you deal with people and how you do things. And then here is the primal brain, cognitive. By the way, for the interpreters there in the booth, you probably looked up the word cognitive. It doesn't exist. Microsoft Word still corrects me on it, right? It's a relatively new term. So what cognitive means, the primal brain does. That's where your core functions, your fight and flight, your hunger, right? Thirst, your desire for sex, for love, right? That's all there. It's primal. It's big primal. So but the difference between the main difference. So, but neither the limbic system nor the primal brain have a capacity for language. They do not have a capacity for language. That's why when you see something, when you look at a person, you talk to that person, it's like, something about that person does not add up. I don't know what it is, but it doesn't add up. Or you look at something, it just doesn't look right. You cannot describe it because that impression you get from, the limbic system. That's why we're so dependent on poets and musicians and writers and artists and colors and sculptures and paints and music and sounds to express. I mean, how do you express love? How do you know that you love somebody? People say, well, I love somebody because he or she completes me. What does that mean? Right? So you cannot express that because where you feel it is in the limbic system of primal brain. Right? So, and one of the reasons, and you excuse my English here, but you screw things up when you make a decision, then you start analyzing them. Right? When you go in and you want to buy a TV, and you go to like Best Buy and you do all your research, and then you come home and you plug it in and you see everything that doesn't work, and then you're like, oh, I should have bought the other one. All right? So that's what's happening here. But your decision making, your daily decision making, and I hate to break that to you, especially as linguists, your decision making is not going to be here. Your decision making is done in the limbic system where you have no capacity for language. That's why kids that don't have developed brains yet, when they do something stupid and we ask them why, they say, I don't know. Right? So because they don't have words for it. Okay? And we even tested that here's from the source of the linguistic brain, right? We know from all those research that we've done, not me, but we as humans, that the brain begins preparing for an action a few hundred milliseconds before the person is conscious of their desire to perform that action. So all your decision making, you can probably call it comes from the guts, from the heart, from my soul. No, it comes from your limbic system. Right? So, and what is so? And I'm working with a woman called Kathy Colby. Kathy did some research on how that cognitive part here, right, this part here, this cognitive part, the primal brain, that one defines how you actually prefer to work, how you naturally work. It's not a conscious decision. It defines how you naturally work. Right? So, for example, in the neocortex here, you would do an IQ test here. You would do something like this, or the Gallup Strengths Finder, or this Myers-Briggs and so on. That's all here. But there's nothing being here on the cognitive part of the brain that identifies how you naturally work. And here's how that works, right? We actually turns out that Casey Colby found out that we actually have 4 operator action modes, right? We have she calls it fact finder, follow through, quick start, and implementer, and then there are 3 levels. We either counteract a behavior, we accommodate for the behavior, or we initiate behavior. Okay? And there's no better. That's all strength. There's no good or bad. It's not like if you're number 3 on quick start, doesn't mean that you're a bad person, or that you cannot work for it, that you cannot do your work. It just means that you tend to stabilize rather than to innovate. Okay? So here you simplify. When you're a fact finder, you simplify. If you accommodate, you explain. If you strategize, if you initiated it, you strategize. If you follow through, you adapt, maintain, systematize. As a quick start, you either stabilize, modify, innovate. As an implementer, you envision, restore, and protect. Again, those are 12 strengths. We do not talk about weaknesses in the Colby method. Right? So, this is how I work. This is my chart. Okay? And what you see here is I'm very low on follow through. What that means is I hate bureaucracies. I hate structure. Actually, I was hoping I had my computer here so that I can break my own presentation. Because in my mind, I'm jumping back and forth and following the structures. I hate it. Right? So what I do is I will break it. I will simplify. Right? I will break it and I will find shortcuts. But I will initiate everything I do. If you ask me to do something, I will initiate it by innovating. I want to innovate, right? And then when I find some facts, check some facts, and I'm very strong implementer. And when you take that, now it totally makes sense why I was so good at putting somebody on the car, right? And that I'm one of the best Americans who can do that, not anymore, too old now, right? But because I needed, as an implementer, I need to work physically, right? I needed to go, I could have studied all of that, right? As a fact finder, I could have studied all of that, but I needed to go into the car and realize that, actually, how do I get that person out of the car? And I learned by just touching it that the head follows the body, right? So if you twist the head, the body follows and comes out, by itself, right? So I had to really I had to go in and open the car and then go and take the head, turn the head on the ground, control the person, put on the head cuffs, and then stuff him back to the Suburban, right? That's my way. Okay, now I can explain it. Right, now I can explain it. Don't ask me to write a curriculum, though. Right, I can explain it, don't ask me to write a curriculum. So now we did some work with how to get a gun out of somebody, and so you grab it, and I needed to do it myself and cut my hands a few times to realize that you can cut yourself, right, in order to teach it. I could have studied that. There's a lot of literature out there, right? But it's not my way of initiating things and inventing things and doing things. So that's mine. But let's say the program was called GhostRED, right? Global Hostage Taking Research and Analysis Program. I would have been a lousy hostage negotiator, and I've learned how to trade hostages for pizzas, right? But as a negotiator, you need to be accommodating in all three action modes. Because now you can easily relate to the guy who simplify, and you can relate to the guys who strategize in between. You adapt. You can easily, but you also can go the other way and systematize and structure if you need to. You can have stabilize the situation, but you can also support the innovators, right? You can help people that like to visualize things with those that like to physically do stuff, right? So if you're a hostage negotiator and you have like somebody who took a hostage and is on drugs, has been up for 36 hours, has already killed someone, and now you need to convince that person to come out without the weapon, knowing that you'll probably be facing the death penalty. You cannot, or you can only do that when you're in that mode, because you need to be flexible. Right? You cannot have any strong tendencies one way or the other. So, because you need to accommodate all action modes, you need to react to changing needs, gain cooperation, commit to mutual progress, provide backup support, respond as needed, lead by building consensus. So now try that person to do that. You know what that is? That is my profile of the ultimate translator. If you're a good translator, you will be precise, you will seek details, you will connect errors within documents. You will see, well, he said something there on the first page, another one on page 3. How do you reconcile that? I need to place a query, right? You need to define terms with exactness. And you need to question frequent authority. When you ask a question to a translator, what's the typical answer for your answer back? What are they answering back? They give you a question, right? They say, I need more context. Can't answer that. Need more context. They are fact finders. You know, the first one, they initiate everything by checking facts. You cannot go to a translator with not enough facts and ask them to do something. They get started. Oh, I don't know what to do. Just get started, but I don't have enough facts. In fact, they check facts after they've already delivered something, right? Right. So. And they won't generalize, they won't jump to conclusions, they won't hurry or play a hunch, they give yes or no answers, they will not decide without giving reasons, and they will not give you answers top of their head. It's not their job, it's not how good translators are wired. I actually had 2 meetings with LSP this week, where I showed them the slide, and they literally said, all of them said, you know what, 90% of the translators that we hire fall into that category, and 10% are the people that generalize, they do jump to conclusions, they do hurry. These are the ones that we're not keeping. And now take that person into hostage-taking, so excellent that you have that. Take that person in a hostage-taking situation. Said, negotiate that for me. So, dear hostage-taker, I give you pizzas, you give me hostages. What toppings do you want? What's the crust? Right? And so on. So, under what conditions? I don't understand, right? So they want to be very, very precise. You cannot, in that situation, that will irritate the hostage taker. Already on drugs, already overworked, already killed someone, knowing that he's probably going to die either way, right? So it's like when you come home and your wife is, my wife is agitated that I can't come home late, and I'm saying, oh, come on, be reasonable. Yeah, that will calm her down, right? So it's the same here, right? So the translator would be the worst person to do that, right? Most likely will escalate the situation, but she can do it, he or she can do it. So it's not like because we have the mold of how we work. It's not that we cannot adapt. It just takes so much effort, right? And I can show you how much effort it takes. So we took somebody and said, we organize a piece of work for you in a way that works with your way of working, with your natural way of working, with your cognitive skills, right? That is our strength. And that's the activity in the brain. Very productive work. Fixed it in almost no time. And then we changed the assignment in a way that that person would work against her brain, or his brain, like against her cognitive strength. And that's the same brain, doing the same task, just differently structured. And what that is stress. It's absolute stress. You cannot do your best if you're under that kind of stress. It's going to kill you. Right? Yet, if we want to go out as translators and work with other professions and consult other people, we will deal with that guy. That's me. Right? You will deal with me. It's like, I raise the clock, I initiate change, I improvise solutions, I promote alternatives, I brainstorm possibilities, I defy the odds, I edit stories and presentations. My friend Claudia Mirza is in the room and she's the same. Right? And I don't know about you, Claudia, but I get irritated by working with translators. Right? Because I'm like, let's get something done. I think I don't have enough information. Oh, it doesn't matter. You figure it out down the road. I don't have enough context. So, but I won't conform. I won't hesitate. I won't be afraid to fail. I stick closer to the script. I won't stick closer to the script, and I will not second guess myself. So how do you now? So if you put the translator and that person to work together, it's going to be stress, right? They're going to be as stressed as. And now I need to manage this hostage situation, and I do not really have a natural talent for that, or not the right fit. It's a high stress situation. So what we need to become is like, and I hope that for the rest of the conference, when you go out and you talk about your machine translation and doing this in the curriculum and so on, that you put that into consideration. That localization education needs to become cognitively diverse. You need to be able to explain that to somebody who's like me, who needs to go to the space and realize if I'm in a hostage negotiation situation, how I put my hands, how I pushing myself, how I'm positioning myself like in relation to that environment in order to understand the psychology behind it. Right? You need to those people that are visionary and they want to implement machine translation, but in the absence of having a complete terminology, talk to them about it so that you don't tick them off. I don't know, Claudia, about you, but if I want to implement machine translation and translator comes back and I don't have enough terminology, it's like, it drives me crazy, right? Yet, there's so much tension between us, right? That typically I need to solve them. I'll show you how to do that also. The problem with all that is, you know who that is, that profile is? Anyone recognizes himself or herself in here? Create a lesson plan syllabus, organize information material, chart and graph, simulate actual situations, concoct out of thin air, integrate past, present, and future, categorize differences and similarities, bring focus and closure. No idea? No idea? Huh? No. Some project manager, a professor, right? A professor. Everybody, a lot of people in academia are that way. right? As they won't deal with incomplete instructions, they typically do not work well under tight deadlines. They accept others, they won't accept others to disrupt systems, and they're not great at initiating change. Because as a follow-through, you need that structure. The problem is, in all of education, all of education has been developed by and for people that have high follow-through. It starts with the SAT, right? The SAT is done by somebody who's high follow-through, and the people that do well at it tend to be good follow-throughs. So what does that mean for universities? You get a lot of follow-throughs in your selection process in the first place. And you're not getting the people, the Bill Gateses, the Mark Zuckerbergs, and so on of the world that innovate or want to change. They drop out of school, right? Because it's not made for them. But if we want to go out and promote localization in other divisions, for other disciplines, we deal with different people, and we need to adjust our curriculum to the way they naturally work. Here's, for example, that's me and my wife. Right, so as you can see here, we are polar opposites. Right, so like a few years ago, I said to my wife that let's have a webinar series where we invite our clients and partners and just some case studies, what they've done so that other people can learn from. After 3 days, I said, so and where are things now? I said, oh, I'm still working on the follow-up emails and the structure and the lesson plan and the plan and the calendar. I'm like, just write an email to them, said, Andrew says hi, can you do it? and she did, and but there was a lot of tension, and so the question then for us as business partners is, how do you work together, right? How do we work together? So here, for instance, she will start with follow through, meaning all the plug and play of the tech, review data, check the quality of available resources, and then advocates for what needs to stay the same, like a translator would do, right? Like an academic would do. I'm like, hey, let's brainstorm, review data, check the quality of available resources, look for several alternative routes to get it done, right? Stress, right? It's not that one is better than the other. They're totally equal. But what it does create between us is stress, strain, and conflict. And we solve that for us as business partners, that we actually don't work as a team. We work as a group. Meaning, she does her stuff, I do my stuff, and once a month we meet and say, now how does it go? That's why if you hire me, you will never hear from me about billing processes, and I will never follow up on bill payments and so on. That's all my wife. Just doing that would irritate me, right? So, and that's like when you work on your curriculum, then the real look at be clear where you are. I need to be clear where I am at all the time. So if I want to teach somebody, if I want to work with the team, if I go to the client organizations, what do I have and what kind of stress, strains, and conflicts do I envision? And that's very important because of one hormone that kills us. It's cortisol. Stress of that level, constant stress of that level, creates cortisol. Do you know what cortisol does to the body? Cortisol is a hormone that you've all seen the documentaries like on Net Geo or the History Channel, where you have a gazelle grazing, and then suddenly like one of those gazelles goes, right? And then all other gazelles go, right? And then because they sense danger. And that's what cortisol does. It triggers your fight or flight mechanism. It alerts everybody else, makes everybody else nervous, right? And stresses everybody out. In a corporate environment, it's like, we're going to get laid off, we're going to get laid off. And everybody says, we're going to get laid off. And then your cortisol levels get up, right? You're stressed out. There are a few other things to talk about, but it's a good system, though. It's like when you're in a hostage-taking situation, for example, you're like, you need to tense up, right? So now it's like I'm negotiating, and I need to tense up. So I don't know what's happening. I need to be alert of the danger, right? When that situation is over, I'm going like, all the cortisol flushes out. Cortisol is meant to be in the system only temporarily. What we do in universities and what we do in the workplace also is we leave that cortisol in our bodies all the time. all the time. And it's killing us, right? So explain to me why we have in the United States, we have the best healthcare system of the world, we are one of the best hospitals of the world, we have some of the best doctors of the world, we have some of the best medicines of the world. Why are diabetes and cancer and all this on the rise?
Sugar.
It ain't sugar. It ain't sugar. It is cortisol, right? So if you want an answer why 30% of college students in this country drop out, there's your answer, right? Because the way we teach and the way we treat people in the workplace is made for follow-throughs. We know that from developers, right? Because we do all those, Colby does all those tests. So we have big data on profiles. And remember the first chart where I said, like, there's no innovation, no increased innovation coming out of the United States? You know what that is? Because in universities, we are made, our systems, our educators, our curriculums are made for follow-throughs. A college degree is nothing more than an algorithm, right? And all you do is you need to go to college for a few years and take a few mandatory courses, get a few degrees, and then get a degree. Right? I'm not saying it's trivial or easy, but that's what it is. It's made for follow-throughs. It's not for the people that need to innovate and need to access, initiate, and learn in different ways. Cortisol is killing us. I read a report on my flight here to yesterday on the plane, where I read a study from Belgium that came out earlier this week that 50% of the PhD students suffer psychological stress, and 30% of them under psychiatric stress disorder, rather. 30%. That's because we are forcing them to learn in a way that some follow-throughs have invented, which is all good. It's all good, right? But it doesn't serve 70% of the population. So we need to go out. When we go, we need to look at that. That's your issue. It ain't your curriculum. It ain't what you teach. I don't care if how far we go with the machine translation and AI and all technologies, because we're not getting through to the people that take advantage of that. So, and to make you understand how innate, how natural that is, you're born with it. We already know from babies that they show those different action nodes and behaviors, how they can change. From very days on, early on, and we've watched the Colby organization for years to look at if their mode of operation stays the same, and it does. For example, if you give a baby an ice cube and put it in front of them, so the ones that are fact finders, so that would be the typical translator profile, right? So if any of your kids is like that, you already know that they will be good translators. They're poke and investigate. They look at the ice cube and look at the different colors and shapes and how it changes, how it melts and so on. They're very fascinated by it. Others worry of the growing watery mess or suddenly follow through. So what am I going to do now? It's in the water. It's everywhere. It's going to soon drop off the table. You have the quick starts. They grab it, mouth it, pop it out, throw it away, lose interest. Right? We call those guys entrepreneurs, Claudia, right? And then you have the implementers, those that have the need to physically do stuff, right? To create physically. They would pound it, bang it, and throw it, because they would say, well, now I understand how it works, right? Okay? So it doesn't change. And if we don't, so the only thing that we can change, and we have to change, if we want to make localization relevant, is to adjust our curriculum, the way we teach, in a way that it meets the people that will work with it, the engineers, the application engineers that go out and fix, or the engineers that go out and fix any of the equipment that have companies out there, right? That need to review documents, right? We need to have a different access to them to show them how that works. It doesn't work with the follow-through approach. It doesn't work with the follow-through approach. And so I guess that's my kickoff here to the next 2 days. When you have your discussions, really think about that. So it's like, I'm not talking about the subject matter. Everybody here in this room is more intelligent than I am. You know more stuff than I am. It's not about the topic. It's about how do we make the topic in our teachings accessible to somebody who's not a translator, who's not a fact finder, who's not good at follow through. Right? I shouldn't say good, like strong. Right? So then again, there's no judgment in this. And so I want to end my speech today with a video, a short video from your actually not yet, with a short video from maybe your childhood, and I hope that after the speech you also have a different appreciation of this episode.
Do sunny day, sweeping the clock. Hey, Ernie.
Hey, Bert.
Hey, Ernie, what do you got in the box there, huh?
This, Bert,
Yeah?
this is my ice cube collection.
Your what?
My ice cube collection. I bet you didn't even know I collected ice cubes, did you, Bert?
I didn't know anybody collected ice cubes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I started yesterday. I gathered up all these really beautiful ice cubes, and I put them in this box. And then I put the box under the electric blanket.
The ice cubes?
Mhm.
Underneath that electric blanket?
Oh, I had to, Bert. Those little fellows were freezing cold. But I kept them toasty warm all night. Hey, you want to see them?
Oh, Ernie, I'd love to.
Behold. Oh, no. Bert!
What?
Oh, no. My ice cubes.
Yeah?
They're gone. Oh, Bert.
Well, of course they are, Ernie.
Oh, but why, Bert? Why? I was so kind to them. Why did my ice cubes run away from home, Bert?
Oh, Ernie, now that's silly. Ice cubes can't run away from home.
You're right.
Right.
They didn't even have suitcases or bus fares. Something must have happened to them.
True.
Bert,
What?
I think I suddenly realized that I know what happened.
Well, about time, too.
Yes, somebody stole my ice cubes.
Oh, brother.
Somebody around here is a dirty ice cube thief.
Gee.
And when I find out who, he will pay for this.
Yeah.
I'll look for clues.
Yeah, you do
Yes.
that. Good idea. Why don't you look at the box real careful like, you know?
Look at the box.
Maybe you'll figure out what really happened to the ice cubes.
Bert!
What?
Bert, look at this. I found a clue. Take a look in the box here. Look in the box.
Yeah?
This box used to contain ice cubes,
Yeah?
but now it's full of water.
So it is.
Mm-hmm.
Now do you see what happened?
I certainly do.
Well, good.
Everything is perfectly clear.
At last.
A fish stole my ice cubes.
Why?
Some dirty fish sneaked under the electric blanket and stole my ice cubes.
I don't believe this.
That's what happened. That's
Ernie.
what happened.
Ernie, don't you know what really happens when you take ice cubes out of the refrigerator? They melt.
The ice cubes melted?
That's right. They turn to water.
You mean the water in there used to be my ice cubes? And then they melted? And that is the water that my ice cubes used to be?
That's right. Now do you still think that a fish stole your ice cubes?
Oh, no, of course not.
Ah,
That's a silly thought. No, I don't think that anymore.
good boy. Now, tell me what really happened.
Some fish melted my ice cubes. Some dirty fish sneaked in here and melted my ice cubes. And when I catch that fish, I'm going to tear him fin from fin. Oh, wait till I get hold of him.
Go get him, Ernie.
So that's me and a translator. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the talk.